All right, welcome to this week's edition of the Construction CPA's Coffee Cafe. I am the Construction CPA, Lisa Raiche. We are dropping the hammer on cash flow problems so you can build things that matter. This week, we're going to be talking about payroll and job costing with that payroll. And we're going to be talking about that with my friend here, James Cote from eBacon. James, tell our audience a little bit about you.
Hey, Lisa. Thank you for having me on today. Yeah, I'm a regional sales manager here at eBacon. I've been with the company for a few years now, and we are a boutique payroll company that really help construction companies simplify their payroll, time tracking, HR, prevailing wage compliance, so they can spend less time on paperwork and more time on growing their business.
All right, great. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about why labor is one of the biggest costs that the contractors will face, and it is usually one that tends to derail projects. So, most contractors think that time tracking is just payroll, right? Just getting people paid on Friday. But, why is it actually a profitability tool?
Well, I mean, labor leakage happens, 1 hour at a time. When most contractors think about labor loss, they picture a bad project. But in reality, it usually is like small increments, like a missed punch, 15 minutes on the wrong job, time entered from memory at the end of the week, or hours changed to the wrong cost code. Those small inaccuracies, they add up quickly over time. That's why time tracking isn't just about payroll, it's about profitability. Labor is typically the largest controllable cost for a construction company. If you don't know where those hours are going, it's almost impossible to know where which jobs are making money, which jobs are eating away at your profits.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of doing our timesheet from memory that we see on our side at weekends. So yeah, at that point, in many cases, our contractors are just thinking, "Oh, I just need to get people paid at
Yep.
weekend." Really, So in your labor, overrunning your labor on a project will completely eat away at your profits. It always does. It's one of the biggest ones and easiest ones to easily get wildly out of control. So, what are some of the common time tracking mistakes that you see on your side from the contractors?
The most common mistakes are really simple but costly. Employees entering time from memory at the end of the week, hours being charged to the wrong job or the wrong cost code, inconsistent tracking habits across crews. Another big issue is assuming that improving time tracking will slow down in the field. In reality, many contractors stick with outdated processes like paper time cards because they think it'll create more work. You know what? Nobody wants more work. But modern tools allow employees to clock into correct jobs in seconds, often faster than filling out paperwork. Those small inefficiencies can create labor leakage, and that is quickly and will directly impact that job's profitability.
Yeah, we see a lot where our clients are, well, we already have them do so many other things. I don't want to bother them to have them track the project that they're on today, or what project, if they went to a couple of projects in one day, and it's sometimes falls in this, well, we already have them do too many things. I don't want to give them one more thing to do, yet not having that accurate time really does eat away at not only profitability of a project, but ultimately profitability in general, right? There are how I'm kind of curious from your perspective, how does it, do you see anyways from your side, how does the inaccurate, job costing ultimately alter that project's visibility?
Well, I mean, you can't manage what you can't measure. When time isn't tracked accurately, job costing becomes unreliable. Project managers, they're going to lose visibility into where labor is actually being spent, making it difficult to identify any issues early on. Instead of making proactive decisions, teams are forced to react after the fact,
Sure.
often when it's too late to correct the problem. Accurate time tracking gives a real time insight into labor usage, allowing teams to adjust schedules, reallocate resources, and stay on budget.
Yeah, I think from our side too, is we find that in many cases, they're almost not even tracking the projects or tracking them properly. So now all of a sudden it's, oh, payroll is just this thing we do at the end of the week or the beginning of the week to make sure people are paid at the end of the week. But they're not even, it's teaching them that there's so much lost profitability in these projects that they're not only losing on this project, but they're losing on the next 10 or 12 that they're quoting and they're bidding on because in many cases they aren't using any real accurate information to build off of that next, to build that next bid or the next quote because, well, they're not even learning. They're not even learning from the projects, right? You need to not only know that you're off on this project or it's going over, but oh, are we historically going over on these types of projects? And now, all of a sudden we're thinking it takes 100 hours, really takes 150 hours, and that changes your bidding moving forward and your profitability moving forward. So I think we see from our side that if you need that good data in order to perpetuate good information onto the next project and the next project and the next project. And so without that, they're just dragging garbage along the way. It's like garbage in, garbage out. And so you're not really getting good, reliable information out of any of your systems. It's just, oh, well, they were paid on Friday. I'm like, oh, okay. It's not going to help you when you go out to quote on the next project. And some of these projects are quite significant, large projects with a lot of labor on them. And so you get out of whack early on in a project, you could seriously damage your profitability on it. If not a large project, a couple of percentage points could be 100,000, 150,000 in profit that you've lost, and so for us, it's just getting them to that place. Usually when your clients come to you, where are they in their journey in terms of have they historically seen this thing as just being payroll? We just got to pay people on Friday.
Yeah, I would say it's typically they just think that it's payroll. They don't. And the one beautiful thing about eBacon is, again, is it's a full solution that ties everything together. So one of the biggest things is that time tracking piece. Is that knowing where your employees are at, knowing what jobs they're on, knowing where hours they are going to what hours. When you're looking at bids and whatnot, you really, if you go look at a government website and go compare all the different bids for one project, the person that wins is usually maybe 10% cheaper in their bid. And that's labor. That it's everybody's paying the same for materials. So where is your cost? Where can you actually win that bid? When you actually look at a company that has 20 employees in the field and they're just missing 15 minutes per day per employee, that adds up to over 1,200 labor hours per year. That's
Wow.
just not lost time. That's lost margin.
Yeah.
Inaccurate financial reporting and reduced confidence in job performance data. I mean, over time, these issues can compound, and it makes it harder for contractors to scale and maintain consistent profitability.
Yeah, those are the types of things, and you start to throw real numbers on that. You take that 1,200 lost hours, and now you start to put a real payroll, a pay rate on there, and that pay rate with that burden rate, and you're like, oh, that's a big number. You start to really see what those, and that's the dollars that I think that don't when contractors are looking at their projects that don't translate. That's the piece they don't see. Is like they've not mathed it out to see that 1,200 labor hours at, 30, $40 an hour plus the burden rate and everything else is quite substantial. And that's the difference between, for some of these guys, not just general profitability. It might be, maybe an owner who's not taking a payroll because the projects aren't as profitable as they thought. So the owner's not paying themselves, or, maybe you do need another layer of management out on in the field. But because the projects aren't profitable, you don't have the funds and the investment, eligible to add that person. And so it ultimately affects the project along the what like not just the project, but the business as a whole. And I think that's the financial consequence most contractors don't actually think about is, what projects are each of these guys working on each day, each week. Again, your example of the 15 minutes that compounds. And again, you've got 10, 15, 20 people working. Oh, they over on one, or it's 15 minutes because I'm working from memory here. And oh, where was I? Well, we went to two sites on Monday. So I don't know how long we were here. Oh, yeah, maybe I think we were there 2 hours and then we went off to the other one. Like those are the things that, don't help you. That's the consequence that just keeps, and I talk about on here a lot, is this snowball. It just snowballs, and it snowballs to the next project, and it snowballs to the next project, and then it snowballs to the next project. And then it snowballs to all the projects that you're not bidding on using that garbage information, or that, oh, well, this guy was remembering where he was that day, or, hey, I couldn't get you to put your timesheet in. I paid you for, 45 hours last week, but where were you? Oh, yeah, I'm trying to remember where I was all of those days. Those are the kinds of things that will, again, you also, it's hard to come back from in these projects, right? You're not thinking about it, you don't know about it, and you find it when you get to the end of it. Those are the things that maybe you can track and get a little more of a handle on earlier in the project and maybe save your profitability. So, from our perspective, what we're seeing is just the lack of actually just using this tool, which is such an important tool for their cash flow and their profitability. They're just, oh, I need to pay guys on Friday. It's a payroll thing. That's all they're concerned about when they're not really thinking about the overall profitability of that project. So,
It's a
so
business thing. It's not a payroll thing anymore.
yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we strive to teach our clients is you're right. It's not just a payroll thing, it is an actual business thing. So much of your future business kind of hinders on how well you utilize this particular tool. And if you're thinking of it as an afterthought, then your profitability ends up being kind of that afterthought. So all right. So one last question for you. So if a contractor could improve like one thing about their labor tracking or their labor tracking process, like what would you recommend that they do?
I mean, it's really start simple. You don't need to implement dozens of cost codes, overhaul your entire system overnight. Just focus on creating consistent habits. Make sure your employees are tracking time to the correct project every day. That's the first step.
Yep.
Once that foundation is in place, you can build on it and get more detailed cost codes, productivity tracking, deeper job costing insights. The goal isn't to create more work for your employees, it's to eliminate the guesswork for your managers, for the owners. With the right tools and simple processes, contractors can really reduce labor leakage, improve visibility, and make better decisions that will protect their margins.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. It is just start tracking where your people were on a daily basis. I think that is first and foremost because if you're not doing any of that, you're going to find just an immense amount of data and information that'll come out of just that one piece of information. And you're right, it doesn't have to be long and elaborate and hard and a lot of cost codes and budget line items. And, people get very scared by that. Just, it's Friday, the end of Friday. Where were your people today? What projects were they working on? If you at least know that piece, then you're definitely going to be farther ahead than many that we probably both speak to on a daily basis.
The amount of paper type cards I see where it just shows 8 hours, it just blows my mind.
Yeah, you're right. And that isn't going to help you manage your profitability, manage your cash flow. It's just going to get your people paid on Friday.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me this week. I very, very much appreciate it. I'm here
My
every
pleasure.
Friday. We are at the Construction CPA on all the social channels. I look forward to seeing you here every Friday, and we'll see you next week.